podcast. As always, I'm your host from Tampa, Florida, Salguardo. As always, with me are my co-host, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Hess, former defensive lineman Kyle Searle, and former football operations Dan Kopp. Well, we had a tough one at Pittsburgh as the Penguins go down 73-17. But just to show the commitment this podcast has, I am in the middle of Hurricane Helen and the heart of it, and I am still coming from you live. So if I lose power, Kurt Hess will take over as the host. That aside, as always, you can follow us on Instagram, Whitetown Penguin Podcast. We are live on YouTube Live, which Kyle Searle is monitoring that chat. Get your questions, comments in. Please give us a 5-star review and a subscription.
Sorry, Sal. I am not monitoring YouTube tonight. I do not have my secondary computer here.
I'll fill in for you. Don't worry.
All right, appreciate it.
Harold.
He's hunting bear and elk.
Oh, that's right. Kyle Searle is coming from South Dakota. He's out there scouting what he thinks is a good team, even though they stink. We will recap the Pitt game, recap all of week 4, preview Missouri State, and make our week 5 picks. So basically, we'll recap what we really don't want to. But Searle, real quick, over to you for a sponsor ad.
Yeah, so sponsor ad. I was going to try and get the big guy, Paul Lydon himself, to do it, but we are stopped for the night. We are on our way home. He's in the other hotel room over there, but Lydon Oil Company is a big supporter of Penguin sports, Youngstown State University, and the surrounding area of Youngstown itself. They support us, and Paul believes he is fueling the best for success. So once again, we always going to give a shout out and a thank you to Paul Lydon, Laura Lydon, Paul Lydon Jr., and Jennifer Lydon over there in the Youngstown warehouse.
Thank you, Searle. Well, I will quickly recap this Pittsburgh game so we can talk about it and hopefully put it behind us as quickly as possible. Pittsburgh definitely covered the 27.5-point spread as they win 73-17. First quarter got ugly from the get-go. Pittsburgh 6-yard pass for a touchdown. Pittsburgh 24-yard run for a touchdown. Pittsburgh 2-yard run for a touchdown. 21-0 Pittsburgh. Second quarter starts, Penguins with a field goal. Pittsburgh quickly responds. Touchdown. Then Youngstown gets their first touchdown on the board. Glimmers of hope as the Penguins make it 35-10. And then Pittsburgh quickly responds less than 20 seconds later, making it 42-10 at the half. Third quarter starts. YSU comes out with a 44-yard pass, making it 42-17. Again, looks good. Defense looks a little better, holding them to a field goal. But then Pittsburgh just piles it on. Another 2-yard run, making it 52-17. Going to the fourth quarter, things really get nasty. Pittsburgh scores 3 more times with a 13-yard pass, 22-yard interception return, and a 57-yard run to bury the Penguins 73-17. And that is how the game went. I'm going to flip it over to Kurt. Kurt, thoughts? Should we be concerned? What do you think about the offense?
Yeah, so I think our concern level should be as high as your concern level for Hurricane Helene right now, which is very high. I kind of tried to come at this from a mathematical standpoint just to make myself feel a little bit better about how things are going. So bear with me with some statistics here, but I'm going to throw away the Villanova game. That was week 1 for everybody. I'm going to throw away the Valpo game. We all know about Valpo. So in terms of program prestige, we're probably somewhere between Pittsburgh and Duquesne. So talking specifically the last 6 quarters of football, we've scored 25 points to our opponent's 87 points. So that means per quarter, we're giving up 14.5 points per game. That's over 2 touchdowns. And we're only scoring 4.2 points per quarter. Not even a touchdown. That does not bode well for us as we head into the Missouri Valley. So that's point number 1. Again, I'm talking kind of the last 6 quarters, and I included the last final touchdown drive for Duquesne at that minute 50 mark as they were heading into half, and we turned the ball over and then they go score. we've had defensively, and I'm sorry if I jump into some defensive stuff, Cyril. We've had defensively, we've been on defense for 16 drives, 17 if you count a kneel down, and we've only forced 2 punts. So in the last 6 quarters, we've forced 2 punts, and our opponents are scoring 88% of the time. High level of concern. On the flip side, offensively, we've had 15 drives. Of those 15 drives, we've punted 7 times, we've thrown 3 picks, and we've fumbled once. So 11 out of 15 drives, we have not scored any points. So that means 26% of the time, we're only scoring points. So our opponents are scoring at 88% clip. We're scoring at a 26% clip. Mathematically, statistically, analytically, that is not boding well for us whatsoever. Okay.
Dinner.
Here's what I try to take into perspective is maybe Pitt's a little bit higher in terms of level of prestige, but then Duquesne is probably a little bit lower in terms of program prestige. So in those 6 quarters, I would say we've probably had 2 quarters against Duquesne starters, probably only 3 quarters if we're being nice against Pitt's starters, and then 1 extra quarter against their backups, right? So I think mathematically we're probably in the middle, and this is pretty accurate in terms of how well we're playing right now on both sides of the ball. The turnovers are killing us, high level of concern, and we can't stop anybody, high level of concern. Going into Missouri State, and this is my last point, I'll send it over to you, Cyril. They're a future FBS team. They've played Montana and Northern Illinois to 1-score games, so an FBS team and an FCS playoff team. They're coming off 2 wins, and we are starting their Missouri Valley Football Conference farewell tour. So if they're going to make some noise in the conference like they've never done before, they're going to do it this year, and they're going to try to make a playoff run. I'm not saying that they're a playoff team, but they definitely think that they have our number right now, and we're traveling there. So high level of concern on all facets of the game right now for us. Go ahead, Cyril.
Yeah, I do not have the statistics like Kurt. I've been traveling all week, and no,
I did some
good.
at
Honestly,
work. Don't tell anybody.
No, honestly, like that's phenomenal. And when you break it down like that, and you got simple numbers, and it's a mathematical equation, like yeah, we're playing bad football. We are playing bad football, and you know, we look at the Villanova game, and we think that we're set up for a good season, and then we struggle against Valparaiso, and then we go lose to Duquesne and get upset by Duquesne, and then we get 70 plus points put on us against a Pitt team who we've pretty much played the last 3 or 4 times pretty competitively. So I think this program is I don't want to say heading in the wrong direction. I think that senior leadership needs to look themselves in the mirror and say, what kind of football team do we want to be in the next, coming weeks? Because like Coach Kopp says, that's all we got. We're not going to have, Kurt Hess or Tom Brady walking in the locker room to save the team. We're not going to have Leonard Fournette walking in the locker room to run the ball. Those guys are the only guys that they can count on, and it's not been fun to watch. I'm just going to put it that way. Even Valparaiso was not fun to watch, and I'm really going to put it on the seniors because this is their team. I remember, and for the juniors, like. The juniors need to step it up. The underclassmen, let's call them underclassmen, need to step it up for the seniors because they're going to be in that position soon enough, and it's going to be their last season of football, whether they like it or not. And are you going to leave something behind that's going to get remembered? Well, you could for the wrong reasons too, but you got conference play starting. You got a team that we've traditionally struggled against, whether they're a good or a bad team. We traditionally struggle against Missouri State, especially on the road there. So buckle the chin straps up and figure it out. I don't want to talk about the Pitt game because it's just what can you say about it? It was bad football. And so should we be concerned? Hell yeah, be concerned. And we got what do we got? For 8 games to go. We got 8 games to go. So can we figure it out in the next 2/3 of the season? That's on the seniors and how they handle the locker room here.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought as we were talking about this is, if any of us were the coaches, I wondered, you throw this film out. I mean, what are you going to sit around and evaluate? And, you got to move on. I mean, I guess Pitt was good enough to hang 73 on us. But were they not good enough in the years that we played them tighter? But, I think you just got to move on. I will echo, Kyle brought up a point a week or two ago. Our defensive line seems to be struggling to get off blocks right now and creating some pressure. That's a concern. I think this Pitt quarterback, I think, is the best quarterback they've had at this point. I guess Kenny Pickett, but he's good, and he had all day back there to throw, and he was running. He was kind of doing anything he wanted, and so it looks like him and that offense coordinator have a good marriage so far. But I think Coach Phillips probably echoed what we're talking about right now after the game. He said, we got to figure this out, whether it's scheme, personnel, whatever it is on defense, they got to figure it out and figure it out fast. As you guys know, the beauty about football, there's going to be a scoreboard here in 48 hours, and we'll see if we've figured it out. So in my mind, throw the film out. That game's over. We got roped. Move on, because that has nothing to do with the next 8 weeks. I think if we were 2-2 right now, which I thought we would be, I think we all maybe thought that, or whatever you guys thought we were going to be, we were still going to have to go out here. I said earlier in the year that this was my game of the year, preseason. I said Missouri State is the game of the year, and now, it really looks that way. I will say I think Bo Brungard is getting better. I thought in times he was letting it rip a little bit. He's settling in as a guy who's played 4 football games. So I like that. I like him trying to look at what we can move forward with. And I thought Bo is progressing. Not that I'm a quarterback guru, but I think he's getting better and better. And if Pitt was, as Coach Narduzzi said, this was personal to him. I don't think he had, the third defense in there against Bo. He was still trying to compete and maybe shut us out, and Bo was moving the ball around. I really hope we stay patient with the run game. If I have another observation, where's our offensive line in some regards? We're not giving up a bunch of sacks, but, we've got to stay patient. I hope you guys know I love running the football, but I've asked before, I've hoped before, is this when we maybe get in gun with split backs with Ethan and Tyshawn on either side of Bo and start mixing up the running game and running Dave and Trey out of that, just to add another little wrinkle. But our offense is putting up some yardage. I mean, if you look at some of the stats within the conference, we're just kind of, you fall behind that quick, like Sal mentioned, and then they can just turn the dogs loose after our quarterback. So there's no doubt there's some concern on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, how can you argue that? Kurt, you brought up some great points. The numbers are the numbers. And as Kyle said, and I'm sure, Sal, you're going to touch on, it's hard when the team we love, the team we coached for, played for, like you guys and us, we did. When you get hung up and get 73 put on you, it's frustrating, it's disappointing, it's all of those things. We've been going through this for 2 weeks now, but now we're going to find out. So to cut it short, throw that film out. It is what it is, and they put it on us. So we have got to figure some things out on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm only echoing what our head coach said, that scheme, personnel, whatever it is, they got to figure it out and start getting some stops and see where we go. Did we lose Sal down there, Kurt? You taking over here?
Yeah, it looks like we lost Sal.
Okay. Hopefully that storm isn't beating on his back door right now. So when he comes back, or if any other pit comments you guys want, but
yeah, I mean, I got a couple. I can follow up before we do a little bit from our picks from last week. But you made me think of something that I remember as a player, and Cyril, you might be able to talk to this too. Is the hardest thing I think as a player is like what you're saying is to put that film away. And so I think it's really on the coaches right now in every position group to say, because we always talked about the 24-hour rule, right? And as a when you win the game, 24-hour rule, I think, is easy. I thought as a competitor, it was like, I can't wait till Monday where I can go out and get another win. But as a loss, those ones that really hurt, those are hard to get rid of. And, you kind of build up all year to play in this FBS game, this ACC style game. You get to play in Heinz Field. And when it doesn't go that well, and sometimes it's easier to throw those big games out. But in this case, it's like, this is why you come to Youngstown State. If you're not going to have a chance to go to the playoffs, if you're not going to have a chance to win the conference, and that may still happen, you circle it no matter what. This big game on your year, I did every year, and for it to go like this, it's going to be on the coaches right now at each position group, not even Phillips, but at each position group to say, we threw this film out for a reason because we were terrible. We're going to look at the personnel. But after 24 hours, that 24-hour rule counts for a loss too. You get your minds right Sunday night. You get your minds right Monday morning. And I think it's on the position coaches to do that because they have the closest, most intimate relationships. They spend the most time with each other. And so really it's going to be like Cyril said, the seniors. But that 24-hour rule is so hard to follow after a big loss that I think we'll see if we still have the team this week, if they come out ready to play this week at each position group, okay, we still have the locker room. We still have the culture. If they're not responding this week, then I think it's going to be tough for us moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kurt and Sal, I thought we lost you for a second, so I'm going to be 2 seconds. You can jump in there, obviously. But, that year we were 4-0 in 2012 after beating Pitt. Remember that? I ran into our guy.
4.
Yeah, I mean, it's so what is that balance? You brought up a really good point, and we've all touched on it. This is where coaches and a team kind of figure out. You just mentioned, we got to figure things out, kind of come together. And the beauty maybe is they're going on the road. Get the heck out of Youngstown. Get together in a hotel. Hopefully it's been a good week of practice, and you got conference play, and it's over. We all know we got beat up pretty good. So, I mean, just move the hell on,
Yeah, Sal, we kind of just go ahead. Take your thoughts.
Yeah, you hear me okay?
Want.
Yeah.
Let me get my thoughts in before I lose power again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, between Cyril and Dan, y'all hit on it. I mean, Pitt, for one, look bigger, faster, stronger. This is probably I want to say the best Pitt offense, but it's a different Narduzzi offense that we've never seen before, which kudos to them. It's definitely different, and we're definitely not ready for it. But a couple things. One is this is traditionally our bye week that we don't have. So we usually get a bye week right before conference play. No longer have it. That stinks. The other thing is I didn't get to really watch the fourth quarter. I mean, because I was kind of just throwing up from watching it. One thing, and I could be wrong, but I do remember from the coaching days, the losing team needs to wave the white flag first. And by waving the white flag, they need to pull their starters. So I don't know how the score got so out of hand that it came almost unsportsmanlike. So I don't know if we took our guys out and they kept dropping the hammer, or we just didn't take our guys out in time. But Dan, you said it best. I mean, I looked up the stat, top 50 rushers in FCS, and they're all running backs except for one. Number 34 is Bo Grungard. So to your point, and I'm not going to give Coach Troy advice, at all. However, he ran an offense that was extremely successful with Mitch last season. Bo is a very good quarterback, but he's not Mitch. He has a different set of skills. We have two great running backs. I don't know how our tight ends are, but maybe we got to, like you said, Max he was on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's a very fast wide receiver that we have. I don't know if we need to do some reverses, or I don't want to go, wishbone or triple option, but maybe that type of scheme and a shotgun or a pistol formation. Maybe we need to adapt and change our offense so that it's not working. You might as well try something else, even if you're in midseason, and adapt to the personnel that we have. We have talented guys, but it's just a different set of talent that we have that the offense just needs to figure it out. I don't know if it's in the coaching or players, but I know Coach Phillips knows what it is, and I have all sorts of confidence that he is going to get it figured out before we play Missouri State. These games are over. We're going to the conference play. At the time, again, Dan was the kook who thought this game was important, and now he looks like a genius because this is the most important game, because this will determine who Youngstown State is for the rest of the season. And Missouri State is not the Missouri State of last year. We all laughed when they decided to go to Conference USA. They're legit. They will do very well in Conference USA if they were in it this year. That's my 2 cents. Are you guys ready to put it behind us?
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing. I'm not trying to – all of us know this, that I'm not trying to give coaching advice. The last thing they need is to hear from Dan Kopp what to do, because we had coaches last year. We were in the playoffs. Mitch Davidson. This is, we're going to find out how good Pitt is. Obviously, I think they're really good. And we got handled. That happens in football, happens in life. Our coaches know what they're doing. We just got to grow up really fast. I can't sit here and say anymore, oh, we're an experienced team. Yeah, we are. But now that's, we just got to, they just got to play hard, and I think they will. But this is not me trying to give advice to our football coaches. Personally, I would like to see we got 2 good running backs, or get a fullback in the game and get under some, whatever they'll do. They'll figure it out, and we're going to find out really quick. So you brought up a really good point, Sal. These guys know what they're doing. It's just hard for us to watch it like that, and because we know, I think the 3 of us know, we know what it's like to beat Pitt. And we didn't beat Pitt by a field goal on the last second play of the game. We beat them by 2 touchdowns, and we handled that game. I don't think Kurt, Kyle, remember, you guys were on the field that night. We were just standing there. We never felt like, there was never a question in that game after we scored that we were going to lose the game. So we could beat them by 2 touchdowns, or we could beat them by 35 points that night. A win's a win, a loss is a loss.
Well, let's move on. You guys ready?
Do it.
Put it behind us. Recapping last week, the week that was, congratulations to Searle with the most picks. He is now on the scoreboard with 1 point with me. Kurt, you are also still tied with Dan with 2 points. So congratulations, Searle, with the picks.
Up, Searle.
Recapping the week that was, North Dakota State beat Towson 41-24, but they did not cover. North Dakota beat San Diego, but did not cover. South Dakota beat and covered Drake. Pittsburgh beat and covered Youngstown State, probably an understatement. Illinois State beat and covered Eastern Illinois. Missouri State beat and covered UT Martin. South Dakota State, we never doubted them for a minute. They smoked Southeast Louisiana 41-0. SEMO actually beats by a couple of scores the Southern Illinois Salukis. And I should have never doubted, and I know Searle did not, Hawaii. I think Hawaii's got things going. Hawaii wins 36-7 over UNI. And that recaps the week that was. Any comments on last week, or do we want to get into Missouri State?
Classic Northern Iowa. Nobody has any idea what the hell they're going to do.
Yeah,
they're gonna beat the Penguins. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their record is. They could be good or bad. They're gonna beat the Penguins.
Yeah, or at least, yeah, give it their all. All right, let's move on, boys. The first conference game is here as your Youngstown State Penguins travel to Missouri State. 3 p.m. on ESPN Plus. It is projected to be sunny, 75 degrees in Springfield, Missouri, Plaster Field. The old field that I believe you still have to walk through the concession stands to get back into the locker room. Just to tell you who Missouri State is this year, looking back so far this season, they had a very close game at Montana and barely lost 29-24. They went to Ball State, played them pretty well, but lost 42-34. beat Lindenwood 28-14 and beat UT Martin last week 31-24. So they basically played the teams that they should have lost to tight and handled the teams they should beat. Just quick recap for your Youngstown State history. This is now, let's see, we played them last year, beat them 44-28. All time, we are 13-6 over them now with a 1-game winning streak. Just looking back at some history, we are actually 500 at Missouri State. We're 5-5, and in conference we're 6-3. Since 1998, we've been playing them. Trying to see any quick stats worth noting. We beat them last year and the year before, if you remember. Bobby Petrino, now offensive coordinator at Arkansas, was our head coach, and they are the ones who broke our heart and knocked us out of the playoffs a couple years ago. But however, it's been going back and forth. The home team has won. It was in Youngstown last year. We won. Springfield, they won. Youngstown the year before, we won. Springfield, they won. And so on and so forth, as long as Coach Phillips has been there. So that will give you the recap on those guys. Curdy, what do you think about Missouri State? What are your thoughts? What should we keep our eye on?
Yeah, I got a couple players, a couple team things that I think are going to kind of decide this game. And then some, national statistics to kind of play into it a little bit, or rankings. But Taj Chambers is their leading tackler. I think he's got 38 tackles on the season, number 26 linebacker. Jalen Williams is a big defensive lineman. Both Taj Chambers and Jalen Williams, just to note, I think they've been at Missouri State their whole career. So it's kind of cool to see. Nothing against transfers or anything, but, you see those guys who have been there for 3, 4, 5 years finally, leading the team, senior leadership type thing. That's what I think we're going to start to see throughout the Missouri Valley is, of course, there's going to be some transfers that make impacts on teams, but really a lot of these teams are led by the teams that, the guys that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years. Jalen Williams leads the team with 3.5 sacks. Safety senior PJ Hall, number 1. He leads the team. He's got 2 interceptions. 2 team statistics and rankings that I think are important for this game. Number 1, Missouri State is ranked 14th nationally in turnovers. So they've created 7 turnovers already this season. They're kind of living with those turnovers right now. And for a team like us who's turned the ball over as of recently, if we play into that pattern, it might not bode well for us this weekend. That being said, we're top 5. I think we're 4th in the nation right now in third down conversions, which is kind of incredible to think about how we're 1-3 right now. We've just, lost the last 2 games and we're still converting at 59%, which is incredible. So that third down conversion allows us to be tops in time of possession like we continue to be, but none of that really matters if we're not putting points on the board. So continue to convert those third downs and staying third and short so that we can score points. But their strength defensively is that they do turn the ball over. So they'll find a way to create interceptions, to create fumbles. And I think it's going to come down to those things. If we can convert and score points, we'll win. If we turn the ball over, we will lose. So those are my keys to the game.
I had that same stat, Kurt, on the third down and time of possession. And
It's
you
crazy.
think about it, they're one and the same. If you're converting that many third downs,
Yes.
Obviously you're going to keep the drive going longer and longer. And to your point, if you're not scoring points, what's the purpose?
Doesn't matter, right?
So,
Yeah, so keys of the game, obviously get a little bit better than last week. Defensively, I still think our secondary needs a little bit of work. Don't want to see any pass interferences. This quarterback, Jacob Clark, is a Minnesota transfer. His season was cut short early last year due to an injury. I think he played 3 or 4 games, maybe hurt in the 4th game there. This kid can sling it. He's pretty good. He's completing over 70% of his throws this year. He's averaging 300 yards a game. He's got 5 or 6 receivers averaging over 11 yards per reception on the season. So, they're not little dink and dunks. They're not in the flats. They're not, he's throwing the ball downfield and he's accurate. Jacardia Wright is their running back. He is a Kansas State transfer. He's big. He's 6 foot, 220 pounds. That's a big boy. He can catch and receive out of the backfield. So I think the defense, until they show me something else, they're going to have their hands full. So once again, they got to get off blocks. They got to get their fits, and they got to get off the block. Okay, it's not good enough to get to where you're supposed to be defensively if you're not getting off the block. So I want to see some urgency out of this defense this game. I hate the fact that this is the game of the year for us already. We're sitting at 1-3, and we're already in survival mode because of the way that the schedule is stacked against us. So I mean, is this team going to make a push for the playoffs? It starts this Saturday versus Missouri State on the road. And so super cliche, you treat every game like a playoff game and you win every week, you'll be all right. But, I mean, once you lose one game, there's really all bets are off. So,
yeah, especially when you got South Dakota State on the schedule.
Yeah, I think we all touched on this quarterback, Jacob Clark, and some stats as both you guys mentioned. Here's the dynamics. I mean, Missouri State's going to want to throw the ball, and we want to run the ball. I mean, they're first in passing offense, like you guys mentioned, 301 yards per game. Third in completion percentage, 70%. They've got their first in completions and yards. So this guy's completed 96 passes, 1,200 yards of, from throwing the ball. And we have the exact total offense a game. We're tied, 388 yards a game, us and them. We run the ball for 212 yards a game. We're second in the league right now running the ball. That bodes well for us. But again, game of the year, tough place to play. Sal, your favorite place, Plaster Field, and it used to be even worse than it is now. Can we force a turnover? Kurt mentioned that's what their defense does. Can we get one? Are we going to get a sack? Are we going to get a tip and a pick? I mean, we got to do something on defense. We got to create a turnover somehow, some way. Whether we're punching the football out, we got to do all those little things. But they want to throw, we want to run. Then I thought maybe they look at what we're giving up as a rushing defense. Well, they try and come out and run the ball on us. I mean, the stats, you look at what we're giving up rushing, it's pretty scary. But I really think the game is going to be won or lost by our offensive line. To me, that's the biggest key of the game. Will our offensive line, which was our focal point at the beginning of the season, Coach Phillips had said it, will our offensive line show up, control the line of scrimmage? Time of possession we've been doing, but we got to punch it in, and that's it. That's all. I want to watch our offensive line dominate the game on the road and win this one, running the football.
Absolutely. One stat going to the history, Dan, that I actually want to recap with you is I saw the largest margin of victory was 2008. Against us when they smoked us. So you remember they had that red-headed quarterback, maybe 4 feet tall, Kirby, that could just sling the ball. I feel like the guy played there for 10 years. But if you remember, we flew into St. Louis. The interstate was literally dead stop. Our bus driver on the interstate got out of the bus and was standing there taking a smoke break. We got the first Bass Pro Shop ever is there. So we rolled in there around 1 a.m. to eat at the seafood restaurant. If you remember, they stayed open for us.
How could I forget?
Man, that was one of the worst travel experiences. I'll put it top 10 because we've had worse. But that was an unfortunate, got there late and then got smoked the next day. But that aside, Sterling, you took my stat too. Talking about Jacob Clark. He's number 3 in the country in FCS. And for the record, none of their wide receivers are even top 40 in receiving. So it's not like this guy is got 1 or 2 guys that he's throwing to. He is spreading the ball around the field. It's not that they have one good receiver. They're throwing to everybody. And then their running back, he touched on, right, He's number 20 in all-purpose yards. So they could run the ball, they could throw the ball. The defense better be ready to go because they're going to spread the ball to everyone. It's not just one playmaker on that team. So everyone's got to be covered. And it's very hard to talk about keys of the game after last week because the keys of the game is everything. I mean, I can't put my finger on one or two things. The team in general has to be ready to go. They have to forget about Pittsburgh. You have to forget about Duquesne. Move forward. We're in conference play. One game at a time. Let's go 1-0, and let's just focus on beating Missouri State. What if you guys remember when we would be on a losing streak? Everyone was pissed off, pointing the fingers. This guy, that. The one thing that cures all: winning. Win the game, and September will be forgotten about like it was 3 years ago. I promise you that. But let's get in our picks. We're ready to go.
Duh.
Let's do it, boys. Hopefully I can hold power just to get through this a little longer. Most of the conference, as I mentioned, has a bye week as we traditionally did or do. But unfortunately, like Strollo explained to us, it's that one time of the year every so many years. We don't get that bye week. So we're going to jump into it. As always, it'll be me, Kurt, Dan, and Searle. Let's pick in that order. So September 28th, this Saturday, Houston Christian is at Indiana State, 1 p.m. Indiana State is a minus 12.5 favorite. I'm not big on Houston Christian. I know Indiana State's got their problems, but I have Indiana State winning and covering.
I'll do the same thing, Fighting Larry Birds.
That's 3 in a row. Give me the Sycamores.
Yeah, I'll take Indiana State too.
Murray State is at North Dakota, 2 p.m. North Dakota is a minus 25.5 favorite. Man, North Dakota State, because it's at home, they're going to win and cover that.
That's North Dakota, right? Playing against Murray State.
I apologize. North Dakota.
Okay,
yes.
all right. I just didn't want to make sure I had the wrong one. Yeah, at 25.5 seems like a lot, but I'll take UND.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. Someone knows something, so give me the what are they, the Warhawks or something?
Warhawks, I think. Yeah.
Give me the Warhawks to win and cover.
Yeah, I got the North Dakota to cover.
Chill out, man. Don't get too excited over there. Southern Illinois Salukis are at Searle's Boys, South Dakota, 2 p.m. Southern Illinois is actually a minus 9.5 favorite on the road. Interesting, Searle.
Did you write that correct?
I did write it correct. I double-checked that. Yes, but to your point, I do think the Salukis win, but they're not going to cover. I will go South Dakota.
I will take South Dakota to win that because I was not impressed after Southern Ill lost 38-21 to somebody last week. Who they lose to?
SEMO. Southeast
SEMO.
Yeah.
Missouri.
Come on, soft.
Wait, Sal, did I hear this right? You're saying Southern Illinois is giving South Dakota points?
I'm
Yeah,
not
9.5.
I'm not saying.
9.5.
What?
Thank you very much.
Wait, South Dakota is getting points at home? Am I reading this right?
Yeah.
Oh
Is there
my
an
gosh.
injury? Did they have an injury last week?
Betting goes
double-check
backwards
since
in
everyone
Florida,
is
like the toilet.
Man, I don't know what that's something ain't right there, but we can't
Did you
research now. I'm
I'll
gonna
check it up.
Did you get your line
I'll
from
check it
CNN?
out. Come on.
CNN. There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't
MSNBC
Fox.
giving you your lines here, Sal?
Yeah,
No,
wasn't-
it's still there. Yeah.
Wow.
Check it up, Kurt.
I mean, did South Dakota's head coach resign? Or
Yeah, Sal, when you wrote this spread, it looks like the South Dakota right now is getting 7.5. So,
Man,
They're just not very good, guys. Give it up, Cyril.
well, I'm gonna say, give me those points with South Dakota at home, and if something happened, I don't know about it, and I'll be wrong.
I just had some snacks at the coffee cup truck stop in Vermillion, South Dakota. I'm gonna take the Coyotes to win.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, they're hunting.
I was out there hunting.
You get anything?
Yeah, we got 50 some birds.
Well, don't tell our sponsor I'm vegan, or you may drop the sponsorship.
Holy, oh boy.
Don't
Hey,
worry.
could I say something real funny? The last time I was in Vermilion, I was working with the foundation, and we took some of our donors to a little bar restaurant in South Dakota. The bartender was from Boardman, Ohio.
Wow.
In Vermilion,
Well,
South Dakota. He was from Boardman.
You want me to blow your mind even more is on my bachelor party in Key West, we
Kurt pissed off the waitress.
Yeah. Someone made the
Didn't
waitress
pay attention
angry
to us
at
the whole time, and then wanted this big tip.
At the pool party we were at. Long story short, Dan, we got thrown out,
There you
and
go.
the manager there was from Boardman, Ohio, and luckily Kurt was wearing his MVR T-shirt, and he let us back in. But
There you go.
Kurt was so pissed he didn't want to get back in, so we
I
moved
think
on.
he fired that lady that day.
MVR will get you in anywhere, man. MVR's got big clout.
She
Big
sucked.
clout.
Right, an MVR shirt.
Probably, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. North Dakota State is at Illinois State, 3 p.m. North Dakota State is a minus 15.5. I don't know. I think North Dakota State has some problems playing on the road. Just taking that East Tennessee State small sample. I think they'll win, but I have Illinois State on the points.
I'll take the Bison to win and cover. Illinois State can be frauds sometimes.
Ooh,
They could.
yep. Yeah, I'll take those points with Illinois State at home.
I'll take Illinois State with the points. I think Bison will win.
Yeah, thanks for that free point there, asshole. Sorry.
All right. Last game is Youngstown State is at Missouri State, 3 p.m. Just to recap, the Villanova line was minus 17.5. This Missouri State line is Missouri State minus 18.5, showing no respect to the Penguins. Boys, we really need to win this game. Are we going to win the game? I really don't know. I cannot pick. However, we are not going to lose by 19 points. I'm going with the Penguins on the points.
Penguins with the points. I don't know if we'll win.
Give me YSU with those with 18.5 points all day long.
I'm not putting any money on this. I'm definitely not putting my pocketbook on the Penguins. Give me Missouri State to cover. Until the Penguins show me that they are trending upwards, I see this season falling apart and going to hell in a handbasket really fast.
Just so you know, that biggest margin of victory, it was a 14-point game back in 2008. So if Missouri State covers, it'd be the biggest margin of victory between the two teams. But that wraps that up.
What?
Yeah,
Big
take
stuff.
that, Cyril. It's never going to happen, says Sal said.
Oh, yeah. Hey, if we've learned anything from Sal's, wait till we hear Sal's freezing cold takes next week on the podcast.
That's Vanderbilt.
I'll say this.
I think they're 0-3 since they beat Virginia Tech.
One freezing cold take I did
Good
have
season,
was
though.
maybe a few weeks ago I said Purdue, watch out. Purdue sucks. I apologize for that. But I will replace it with a hot take. And an era of NIL and transfer portal and instability in some of these teams. There are some teams that are stable, and that stable team is look out for Army, look out for Navy. In the AAC, do not be surprised if Army Navy meet in the conference championship and then have to meet again the following week in the Army Navy game. How they and one of those, the winner of that conference could be that group of 5 bid going to the playoffs. So Army Navy, love to see it as an American. Look out for those boys. They both look damn good. But
I got a quick question for our Hall of Fame quarterback since we're running a little early. So talking about NIL, UNLV's quarterback, they're undefeated. And he comes out, he's done playing because his NIL arrangement, whatever, I don't know the details, didn't make him happy. So he's bailing, leaving his team. They're 4-0. And their starting quarterback says, sorry, guys, my NIL deal they're not living up to the end of the bargain. I'm out. I want to know, Kurt Hess, this is a Dayton Chaminade hot take. I want to hear what would you do with your boy 33 Sledge?
Before he answers that I sent you all the stats, right? He was this quarterback was 7 of 18 for 86 yards versus Kansas, 8 of 17 for 160 yards, and then 6 for 13 for 71 yards. So the guy has a total of 300 yards passing, and he's under 50%.
I'm just asking the question if this is the world, this the world we live in. If we were 4-0 right now and our quarterback was leaving, we wouldn't give a shit what his stats were. We'd want to know, man, we were 4-0 and our quarterback left. So I'm not defending either way, but this is the world of college football.
I would never leave a team that I was on. I went through fall camp with. I was the starter. I had a responsibility to everybody in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
If it was the off season, and you guys know this, I've said this before. If this was the off season and somebody was offering me $200,000 to go play 2 or 3 years somewhere else, I would have strongly considered it in that moment in the off season, because every team's a different team, right? Like I wouldn't want to leave my boys, but I mean, half of my boys straight up would have been like, dude, go take the $200,000 and go play.
Exactly.
But I never would have gone through fall camp and been a part of a roster that I've battled with already for 3 or 4 games and left mid-season and quit on my team. I see that as quitting. I don't necessarily see the reconsideration. If I were to put myself in today's climate, right? If I'm putting myself in today's climate and somebody's offering me $200,000, $300,000 and some Gatorade sponsorship to go play at some bigger college, I would have strongly considered that with my family, talked to my friends. Half of my friends would have said, go take it. That's a great opportunity for you. Half of my friends, like Searle, would have been pissed off at me.
Sure.
But like never mid-season from somebody I've already battled with, who I have the locker room. I've been defined as a leader already in that locker room and on that field, already gone to battle with them 4 weeks. Like, not a chance in hell I would have even thought about that. Even if somebody wasn't paying me, I'd have been like, listen, I'm in the middle of playing right now. I'm competing with my team. I'm trying to do something bigger than any financials that you can give me. I might want to talk about that financials once the season's done.
Yeah.
If somebody was supposed to pay me something. But you know, I think in this climate, and this is just from talking to certain people, that this is why these 19, 20, 21-year-olds probably need some kind of, you know, representation in some way or another so that they don't make these mistakes. And I don't know what that looks like. Of course, the NCAA has no idea what that looks like. And the bigger colleges probably already have it figured out. But when you kind of get yourself in a shady spot, and I don't know what happened with this guy, like, you make stupid decisions like this because you feel like you're entitled to something, and that's messed up. That's BS.
Let me jump in on this. There's multiple layers to this this story here. So the reason that he's bailing 4 games in, whether you like it or not, he's keeping his red shirt years. So he's getting red shirts, so he's keeping a year eligibility. Right. So he's using the system there. I just sat in the truck for over 20 hours with Paul. And
so clearly he's in a clear headspace.
Who, Paul or Kyle?
if you want to get Paul,
I'm just kidding.
If you want to get Paul fired up about college football, Paul loves college football. Very passionately hates professional football, loves college football. Very passionately hates NIL, and he's saying it's killing college football. And to some degree, I do believe that it is ruining the sport. It's ruining a lot of aspects to it. People don't care about building a team anymore. They care about building their personal brand. So what is the best for Kurt Hess's brand? What is the best for Kyle Searle's brand? Is it at Youngstown State? Is it at, go here and build my name and then boom, go pop over to wherever, wants me that day? It's very hard. Like Kurt said, we haven't been in that situation, but at some point, like, there's a fine line of building your brand and building a team and being loyal to something. And really, NIL is like this weird like this weird cloud of, we don't freaking know. Like, we didn't know if we could give t-shirts out to guys. We had to clear it with the NIL girl. It's a freaking t-shirt. And it seems like it's the Wild West, but pretty soon I feel like There's just going to need to be contracts, period, straight up. You do this, you get this. You don't get money just to show up and do this. Like, you have to perform. You know, when NFL players like sit out of games, they don't get their game checks. When they, you know, they're incentivized. You know, very few players in the NFL have guaranteed contracts. So you want 50 grand to go play at Ohio State, you got to give me 8 sacks, something. You know, you got to incentivize these players. You can't just say, hey, come to UNLV and I'll give you $150,000. And then he goes and plays 3 average games at best. And he's like, oh, they haven't even given me, you know, anything. So I'm going to dip. So NIL is definitely ruining the sport. It's ruining teams. It's ruining locker room chemistry. And you just honestly, you really have no idea what you're building from one year to the next. And I think it's really heartbreaking to see college football going down this road, because really it's like the rich get richer. So who's going to be good from year to year? Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, some other random Big Ten schools, SEC schools. That's who's going to be competing year in and year out, and no one else will ever have a chance.
Yeah, that was my quick hot take. I got us off topic, but I just wanted to get really the bottom line is to show how the NCAA screwed this all up. You guys know how I feel about their hypocrisy of the shit that they did. But on the flip side, some good NIL. I was watching something about C.J. Stroud when he was at Ohio State. I think he gave the players suits. He took some of his NIL money and gave it to the boys to get suits, which I think is awesome. But it's hard to imagine that your starting quarterback, you're 4-0. Sal nailed it with some stats, but the guy still leaves. I think when we had Coach Tressel / President Tressel on, he alluded when they went 11-0 and 90 and got beat in the playoffs, his starting quarterback, Ray Isaac, if there was NIL, maybe Ray goes to, I don't know, somewhere. But, you know, that didn't happen, and they went on to win a national title. But it's just, you guys are all right. It has changed in a lot of bad ways, the landscape of it. But enough of that topic. Sorry, Sal.
Wait, no, I got one more on NIL. This is from Paul. The NCAA was sued for NIL back pay, going to 89, 88, somewhere in there, right? It's over $1 billion. The NCAA settled that suit and is going to cover 40% of that and pass off 60% to the universities that were only upholding their rules set forth by them. So the universities are forced to pay the other 60% of this lawsuit that the NCAA settled. And, you know, and it's factored down by conference, the Big Ten and SEC owe X amount. But, you know, the mid-majors, like Youngstown State is in there and they are supposedly owing money. And, you know, like, we run a tight budget. We don't have that money to pay. But why are they even forced into this when they were only following the rules set forth by the NCAA?
Well, because the NCAA, the curtain's getting pulled back on how bad they really were, in the sense of, we're going to shove all this amateurism down your throat, but we're going to take a lot of money off you guys playing. And then now they get sued and lose because it's an antitrust violation, all those things. And they're going to pass, like you said, back on to the schools. So a lawyer would say, I know a lawyer, he said, well, then YSU could have not been in the NCAA and they wouldn't have to pay it. Well, where the heck was YSU going to, you know, we weren't going to be an NAI school. So
Right.
I'm done on the NCAA because they drive me crazy.
I'm not following it nearly as well as Paul or you guys, but I do know, however it shaked out. If you guys remember, the Dakota schools were ticked off by the result and countersued or did something that they think they're entitled to more money. And again, I don't know much about it, but whatever they're going back at, I'm assuming it's at benefit of Youngstown State, as we are on the same conference. So we'll kind of see how that pans out. Y'all good to get into Instagram? Kurt, you have any Instagrams?
if you have a plug to Jaleel McLaughlin right now, we are targeting him as our 5-star recruit to come on the show. So if anybody has any leads, any connections, any plugs to Jaleel, he's probably busy. I don't know if he's got anything going on right now with Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. But, if you want to set up something and come on the show with Jaleel, we'd be happy to have you both on. Maybe Mitch, hit him up or something. We can get you guys both on. But it's about time we get Jaleel McLaughlin on. He's making a lot of waves up in the NFL and really being an impact player for the Broncos. So along with our other guys, Andrew Ogletree with the Colts and a couple other guys we still got in the league. So right now, just PSA, we're trying to target Jaleel McLaughlin. Let's get him on the show. I think Penguin Nation's ready to hear from him.
Yeah, him and Mitch will be an awesome combo to have on together because they were a good 1-2 punch.
For sure.
On the YouTube chat, just one thing note is Wolf did pick the Penguins, as always, YSU to win 38-35 over Missouri State. We'll see how that goes. I'm in the heart of this hurricane, so hopefully I could wrap it up and get this on before I lose power again. And then tomorrow I'm driving to Miami Gardens with the family to probably get smacked by another hurricane on the football field. So if y'all are watching Friday Night Lights, try to see me on, I think it's on ESPN tomorrow night. Cop, I don't know if you have this ready or not. Do you want to go over the college and pro shout outs now?
Yeah, I'm going to do just a quick one. We're just going to talk about former YSU head coaches and current YSU guys that are now head coaches. So obviously Coach Aycock, who we all know and love, Iowa State off to a great start, beat Iowa. They're at Houston. He's got a defense. They're holding people under 10 points a game. We know how he can coach defense. Our guy Wolf, Coach Wolford's at Kentucky, had Georgia on the ropes. Now they're at Ole Miss. So that SEC, it never gets easier, but we love our guy Wolf for sure. And then Brian Wright, who recruited Kurt Hess and Kyle, right, Kyle? He recruited you too.
Yep. That's my recruiting coach.
Coach Wright's the head coach at Northern Arizona now. He was our OC in his first year. They got Sac State this week. So big game for him. And our boy Tom Anthony, who was on that staff with Sal and I, he's the head coach at Pitt State. Took over for Coach Wright, actually. He's 3-1 in his first year. The big win last week. He's on a bye week. So there's just a couple of guys. I mean, there's a lot more. We'll get through them as the season goes on. But so I wanted to get you out of that storm. So there's former head coaches and some current guys out there leading programs that are Penguins.
Yeah, Tom Anthony was the guy that took over when Sal screwed up on scout team, right? And then Aycock was like, Tom, get over there and run it. Sal's not doing it right.
I will say one of the most scary times I've ever had was when we broke the scout team with 10 guys. It was with Coach Aycock was head coach, and he blew up. And then we broke the huddle with 10 guys again, and no one knew where they were going. And Coach Aycock took the binder from me. He didn't say a thing. He just stood there, held it up, and he just stared me down and said, "Ready, break." And the entire scout team ran up to the round. He's, "See, Sal, it's not that hard." Like, yeah. If I was the damn head coach, they'd run for me like that too.
Yeah. Well, Coach Aycock used to share stories when he was a GA for Bo Schembechler at Michigan.
Oh, yeah. The bug
and
juice.
He would just be, bug juice. And he said Bo would just, the things Bo Schembechler said to him, I can't say on our show, but so all four of those guys.
He stared me down and held the card, and the entire, he just looked at me, and I was just like, "Oh shit, is he hinting at me to quit?"
Yeah, but it's cool to see those guys doing what they're doing. And Tom Anthony, man, I think he stepped away from coaching for a year, and then when Brian left Northern Arizona, Pitt State, they grabbed him back up, man, and he's doing a good job. So TA is one of our boys, along with Brian, Eric, and John. We love those guys. So I hope all of our listeners and people don't forget about those guys, man. We got to root for them, and we got some big names still out there coaching that are YSU through and through. So let's make sure we're pulling for those guys, man. We owe those guys a lot.
Absolutely. Any other comments before we wrap it up? Well, let's transition. If I can. There we go. All right. Again, Your Youngstown State Penguins are at Missouri State, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Plus or wherever your local channel is there in Youngstown playing the game. As always, that's Eastern Time. Hopefully the Penguins will come out and turn it around. But again, you could always follow us on Instagram, Whitetown Penguin Podcast. Please give us a 5-star review. Subscribe. We are on YouTube Live. We'll be back on our normal Wednesday schedule at 7:30. Apologize, we're on Thursday. You could always follow us on Instagram to know if there's any changes to that. But again, as always, I'm your host. Oh, sorry. This is the Youngstown Penguin Football Podcast. I'm your host, Sal Guardo. That's Kyle Stroh. That's Kerr Hess. That's Dan Kopp. And as always, go Penguins.